Hey everybody, my name is Alyssa. I'm with the Walla Walla YMCA Child Development Department, and today I'm going to be reading to you guys Meg Mackintosh and The Mystery at Camp Creepy. I think this is a really good summer read, and I read a lot of the Meg Mackintosh books when I was a kid. I think this one is going to be the most interesting, so let's get to it. The creepiest story of all, began one of the camp counselors, is about the ghost right here at Camp Crescent. Meg Mackintosh edged closer to the campfire to hear. A long time ago, this land belonged to an old man named Stuart. The counselor continued. He lived in the old shack where we keep the canoes. Ever since he died, they say that you can hear his ghost rustling around in there at night. And one misty night, continued another counselor, you can see Stuart's ghost paddling his canoe across Crescent Lake. Just then, everybody heard noises in the distance. What was that? They all asked the counselors. The sound seemed to be coming from the old canoe shack. A shiver went up Meg's spine. The counselors exchanged looks and glances, their eyebrows raised. Even they're getting spooked, Meg thought. Everybody's here at the camp. Who could that be? She overheard the cabin counselor, Annie, whisper to another counselor. That's enough ghost stories, Tim, the camp director, announced abruptly. Time for bed. All the campers hurried back to their cabins. Meg was staying in the chipmunk cabin with several other girls. As they got ready for bed, she heard a lot of whispering, much more than they'd been the first 2 nights at camp. One girl began crying a little. Meg doubted anybody was going to sleep very well that night. Just before Annie turned out the lights, Meg reached under her cot, grabbed her detective knapsack, and took out her flashlight, pencil, and a postcard. She snuggled into her sleeping bag and wrote, Dear Mom and Dad, camp is pretty good so far. This is only the 3rd night, 27 to go. Tonight, one of the counselors said that there's a ghost here. I'm not scared, but you do have to go out to another building to go to the bathroom. I just hope I don't have to go in the middle of the night. Pet Skip for me. I miss you. Love, Meg. P.S. Send some size D batteries for my flashlight. XO. When she finished, she tucked the postcard under her pillow and fell asleep. Meg woke up early the next morning. She quickly dressed and tiptoed out of the cabin. I'm glad I brought my detective kit to camp, she said to herself, as she flung her knapsack over her shoulder and darted down the path toward the lake. Soon she came upon the very old, small house, Stuart's shack. Looks pretty spooky, even in the daylight, Megan thought, as she cautiously peered through the broken windows. It was dark and very quiet inside. She thought she heard something rustling around, but decided it was probably just her imagination. Meg looked carefully around the outside of the old shack. Under the dried leaves, she found 2 old rusty cans, some broken glass, an old piece of wood with nails in it, a brown and white feather. But no footprints, she muttered to herself. She snapped a photo with her instant camera. Then she bent down to pick up the feather. I wonder what kind of bird this is from. She studied it carefully. Just then, the morning bugle rang out. She shoved her feather in her pocket and ran back toward the lodge. Meg caught up with the 2 other campers on their way to breakfast. They had stopped at the Camp Crescent sign where they were studying it intently. I think I heard the ghost again last night. Only near the kitchen, confessed a girl from the otter cabin. Maybe it was a raccoon trying to get into the garbage, suggested a boy in a baseball cap. Which one's the haunted shack? Asked the girl. It's here, Meg pointed. I bet it's creepy, said the boy. Hey, we should call this place Camp Creepy instead of Camp Crescent, he exclaimed. They all laughed at the new name and headed to breakfast. But on the way, Meg thought more about the clues around Stuart's shack. There has to be a logical reason for these noises, she told herself. Meals were served in the lodge, where everyone sat at long tables. After breakfast, Tim announced all the activities campers could choose from for the day. Swimming, sailing, tennis, canoeing, hiking, nature lab, archery, softball, crafts, and arts. Not one camper signed up for the canoeing that day. Most campers wanted to go sailing or try archery, but Meg had her mind set on one activity in particular. If you were Meg, what would you sign up for? I don't know. Probably go hiking. What do you think? At the nature lab, Meg examined her feather with her magnifying glass. I'm trying to figure out what kind of bird feather this is from, she told a boy named Hank. They looked in some of the bird books, but so many of the feathers were brown and white that it was impossible to tell which one just one small feather was from. Later that morning, after the Chipmunk Cabin campers went swimming, Megan went to the trading post to buy stamps. She quickly wrote a postcard to her grandfather and mailed it with the one to her parents, just as the noon bugle called everyone to the assembly field. Dear Gramps, camp is okay. A kid plays the bugle all the time, like Dad did when he went to camp. We had pancakes for breakfast this morning, but not as good as yours. We've been swimming a lot, and they say that there's a ghost here. I'm trying to figure out what's going on. See you in August. Miss you lots. Love, Meg. The older kids from the Bobcat Cabin had made the new verses of the Camp Crescent song and were chanting them loudly. In a shack on Crescent Lake, Camp Creepy, Camp Creepy. There's a ghost that makes you shake. Camp Creepy, Camp Creepy. He rows his canoe on the misty night. Camp Creepy, Camp Creepy. If you meet Stuart, you'll die of fright. Camp Creepy, Camp Creepy. Happy 4th of July, everybody, Tim interrupted their singing. To celebrate, we're going to have a special cookout down at the campfire for lunch. Let's go. Each camper found a long stick with a pointed end and stuck a hot dog on it. Then they cooked their hot dogs over the campfire. For dessert, they roasted marshmallows. After lunch, Tim whistled to get their attention. Now for a special treat. We're going to have a treasure hunt. One of our counselors, Kip, has planned out the whole thing. He has a few days off, but he's left me with this envelope that has the first clue. Clue, thought Meg excitedly, almost dropping her marshmallow. This really looks like quite a mystery, Tim continued, so listen carefully. The clues lead to a special prize that must be found by sundown tonight. All the clues must be solved to find the prize, so there are no shortcuts. Now, which one of you wants to read the first clue? I do. Every hand shot up right away. Tim held the envelope above them. In the excitement, everybody grabbed at the envelope, and somehow Meg's fingers managed to reach it first. But before she realized what was happening, it slipped from her fingers and landed right in the fire. Oh no, she cried. Tim quickly grabbed a hot dog stick and tried to rescue the clue, but by the time he spared it from the flames, it was just a charred scrap of paper. Look what you've done, one of the older boys yelled at Meg. The clue is burned. All of the other campers looked at Meg as if they blamed her too. I'm sorry, she said, looking down at her sneakers. Rats, she thought to herself. I bet nobody will talk to me for the rest of July. There was a brief silence. Then Tim patted Meg on the back. I've got a good idea, he said cheerfully. We'll climb Magic Mountain. It's a great hike for the 4th of July. We'll have another treasure hunt when Kip gets back. As they all headed back to their cabins to get ready for the hike, Meg stopped her counselor. Annie, I don't feel very good. Hot dogs sometimes give me a stomach ache, but she knew it wasn't from the hot dogs. Maybe you'd better go to the infirmary, suggested Annie. You can stay there with the nurse until you feel better. As Meg walked slowly toward the infirmary, she stopped by the campfire. The stick Tim had used to grab the burning clue was still there. Meg pulled what was left of the clue off the tip and studied it. There was a tiny bit of writing left on it. Maybe I can figure this out, she thought. At least it's easier to decipher than a ghost's footprint. What do you think it says? Pretty difficult to read. See the word catch, but that's about it. Catch something? Meg was still wondering when she reached the infirmary. Are you sick? Came a voice from inside. Meg looked up to see two faces gazing out at her from the doorway. The nurse will be right with you, the boy told her. I'm Russell. I'm Meg. I have a stomach ache. Hey, you're the one who ruined the treasure hunt, Russell scratched his arms. I was at the campfire just before the counselor sent me here. I have a rash. I'm Tina, said the girl. You're a chipmunk too, aren't you? Meg asked her. Where have you been lately? I've been sort of sick, she said shyly. Homesick, that is. And last night, the ghost story gave me nightmares. Maybe she's the one who was crying all night, thought Meg. I know how you feel, she admitted. I was a little scared about that too. Is that what's left of the clue? Asked Russell, looking at the scrap in Meg's hand. Yes, I think I might be able to figure it out. She looked at him hopefully. Maybe you two could help me? Maybe, thought Russell for a second. I do like puzzles, and so far this camp hasn't been much fun. Okay, I'll help. How about you, Tina? Meg asked. If we all put our heads together, I bet we could solve it. Okay, Tina looked at the clue. It looks like something about a cat, but I haven't seen any cats around here. No, it says catch, Russell pointed out. Let's see, maybe a catcher's mitt, or catch fish. But this looks like an animal's footprint here, don't you think? Asked Meg. Part of it's missing. I bet it's a cat print, cried Tina. Meg thought for a minute. I know how to figure it out. Follow me. The nurse will be looking for us, warned Tina. She said she'd be back in 20 minutes, said Russell. That gives us 10. Let's go. Where do you think Meg took them? Meg led them to the nature hut. Look at the chart on the wall. She got out her magnifying glass. Let's compare the prints. They studied the poster and clue for a minute. I think it looks like a fox print, said Meg. Catch a fox? That's impossible, Russell objected. It does look like a fox print, said Tina, but why is cat underlined? She glanced at her watch. We'd really better get going, she added nervously. Meg, Tina, and Russell hurried back to the infirmary. They were just catching their breath when the nurse walked in. Hello, I'm Miss Kane, the nurse introduced herself to Meg. What seems to be the problem? Meg told her about her upset stomach, even though it didn't really hurt anymore. You all look a bit flushed. I hope there's nothing going on. Miss Kane examined their throats and took their temperatures. Russell, here's some lotion for your arms and legs. It looks to me like you got poison ivy. Now, don't scratch. That'll just make it worse. I have to go to the office for a while, but I want the three of you to stay right here and rest. It's going to be hard to solve a mystery with her around, Russell whispered after she left. Meg and Tina nodded. Then Meg carefully looked at the burned clue from her knapsack. What do you think the X means? X marks the spot, said Russell, scratching his ankles. Something about an X where you can catch a fox, suggested Tina. Meg scribbled in her notebook. Tina twisted her hair and Russell scratched. They were all puzzled. I've got an idea, Meg said suddenly. We've got to go look. Where? Asked Russell. Meg just said mysteriously, come with me and find out. I'll stay here and watch for the nurse, Tina offered. If she gets back before you do, I'll think of something to tell her. Meg nodded. Then she and Russell slipped out of the infirmary and headed to the other side of camp. Where did they go? Hey, this is my cabin, said Russell. It's the X on the clue. That made me wonder, explained Meg. There's an X in the word fox, and there's a sign that says foxes on this cabin. Maybe X does mark the spot. Russell rolled a log beneath the sign to stand on it. He stepped up and slid his fingers behind the sign. I think we've got something here, he shouted, taking a small piece of paper from behind the X. He jumped to the ground and quickly opened the note. Clue number 2. And it's jumbled letters. It looks like a secret code, exclaimed Meg. She got out her notebook and pencil, sat on the ground, and started writing. Just like in spy stories, Russell said, and sat down next to her. I've read a zillion of those. It looks like an alphabet code. There's even a key. There's a hint to unraveling the code. What do you think key 4 means? Meg wrote out the whole alphabet. The key is 4. I bet that means that the key alphabet starts with the 4th letter, D. She wrote a second alphabet underneath the first, starting with the D under the A. In a few minutes, Meg and Russell had deciphered the clue. What do you think it says? Arrow over fire, Russell read. What does that mean? Something to do with the campfire. Or, Russell made a gesture. Meg smiled and nodded. They both knew where to look first. We don't have much time, Meg said. I know a shortcut, Russell said. I went this way yesterday. They followed a dark path through the woods. Where did they go? Sure, to the archery stand. There's the archery range, said Russell, and this is where I stopped to read a book so nobody would bother me. He pointed to an old tree stump. Meg and Russell searched the entire range and checked all the arrows. I really think we're on the wrong track, Meg said finally. Let's look somewhere else. Just then they saw Tina racing towards them. Lucky I found you, she said, catching her breath. I told the nurse that you went to the lodge to get a book, and she sent me out to bring you back. Great thinking, Tina said. Great thinking, Tina, said Russell. And perfect timing, Meg added mysteriously. I have an idea. I wonder what Meg is going to show them. Once they were in the lodge, Meg pointed to the far wall. Look at the arrows displayed over the fireplace. Incredible, Russell stared at the arrows, while he quickly examined clue 2 and deciphered the code to Tina. Meg got a chair and dragged it in front of the fireplace. Standing on it, she examined the arrows. Could you please hand me the tweezers and my detective kit, she asked. Wow, you really are serious about this detective stuff. Russell handed her the tweezers, as he said. You even have a fingerprinting kit in here. Meg carefully removed a small piece of paper that was tucked in between the feathers at the end of the arrow. Look, another clue. Now we're really getting somewhere, said Tina, excitedly. Let's see. Clue 3. Beware of me and my leaves of 3. The answer to clue 3 is safely set 3 away under 3. 3 leaves? Under 3? This is confusing, Russell sighed. I saw something with 3 leaves on it, Tina muttered. We'd better go back, warned Russell, heading to the door. Aren't we forgetting something? Asked Meg. What? Our alibi. The books for us to read. They quickly took some books from the shelves in the corner of the lodge and hurried out the door. Where did Tina see the 3 leaves? As Meg, Russell, and Tina slipped back into the infirmary, the nurse glanced up from her phone conversation, giving them a stern look. They quickly laid down on their cots and pretended to read. Look, Tina whispered a few minutes later. She pointed to the bottle the nurse had given Russell. 3 leaves. Uh-oh, said Russell. Those leaves do look familiar, and I think I know where I ran into them. If only we could sneak back out. Tina and I could distract the nurse, suggested Meg. Listen, she whispered her plan to Russell and Tina. Then Meg and Tina crept into the bathroom. Miss Kane, called Tina. We need you. Meg's stomach is upset again. The nurse rushed into the bathroom. Russell quickly stuffed the pillows under the blanket on his cot, propped the book up on the side, and then quietly went out the door. Could I please have some ginger ale? Meg begged the nurse. My mother always gives me some to help settle my stomach. Okay, dear, I'll go to the kitchen and get some. Miss Kane tiptoed past the cot. That's nice. Russell's taking a little nap. Where do you think Russell really is? How could I have been so stupid? Some shortcut. Russell scolded himself. I sat right in the middle of it. I hate you, Poison Ivy. He scratched his arms and legs furiously. Now, what did the clue say again? He pulled it out of his pocket and read, Beware of me and my leaves of 3. The answer to clue 3 is safely set 3 away under 3. Where is the answer to clue 3 hidden? That must mean 3 feet away from the poison ivy, Russell thought. Then he imagined a circle around the tree stump, and about 3 feet away from it, just outside the circle, he spotted a rock stack, a pile of 3 rocks that hikers could use to mark a trail. He excitedly lifted up the rocks. Underneath was a small folded piece of paper, another clue. He grabbed the note, and not taking time to read it, raced back to the infirmary cot, minutes before the nurse returned. Only after Miss Kane brought Meg ginger ale and was back at her desk and out of earshot did Russell quietly unfold the clue and show it to the other 2. Clue number 4. A flying fish goes up with the sun. Find me when I'm down again. Flying fish? What do you think that means? Tina asked Meg. I'm not really sure. All 3 of them were puzzled. What could clue 4 mean? Maybe we should wait until the others get back from the hike and show them the clue, suggested Russell. But the mystery has to be solved before dark, Meg reminded him. They may not be back in time, and the prize might be ruined if it's found after dark. She paused for a minute. I think this clue has something to do with the sun going up and down. Or is it the fish going up and down? It doesn't make any sense, protested Russell. I haven't seen any flying fish in the lake, and how could there be a clue on fish? Why is the word sun underlined? Clues so far: fox, arrow, poison ivy, and question mark. Meg jotted it down in her notebook, and they studied the clue for what seemed like a long time. They wanted to go back down to the lake and look around, but couldn't think of any other excuse to get out of the infirmary. Miss Kane hadn't budged from her seat, except to look in on them every once in a while. Suddenly, they heard the voices of the returning campers. Wow, exclaimed Meg, glancing at her watch. It's almost 6 o'clock, and we still haven't figured this out. Just then, Miss Kane walked in. Meg quickly covered her notes. Meg, how's your stomach? I want to check your throat, Tina. And Russell, that lotion seems to be helping your poison ivy. Miss Kane looked down over them carefully. I think you're all well enough to join the others now. Do-do-do-do rang out. There's the bugle call for lowering the flag. Miss Kane told them you'd better hurry. Oh, I almost forgot, said Tina. I'm signed up to do that tonight's flag ceremony. Suddenly, Meg's eyes brightened. Before Tina could dash out, Meg quickly whispered in her ear. What's going on? Russell asked Meg after a few minutes. As they headed toward the assembly field, Meg told him what she had told Tina. The clue has to be there, he shouted excitedly. What did Meg tell Tina? While the campers gathered in a circle around the assembly field, 4 campers stood in formation in the middle to perform the flag lowering ceremony. Tina would pull on the ropes. One camper would keep the flags from touching the ground, and then the other 2 would carefully fold them. There were always 2 flags to bring down. First, the American flag, and then the Camp Crescent flag. I knew I'd seen a flying fish somewhere, Meg whispered to Russell as they gazed up at the Camp Crescent flag. A flying fish that goes up and down with the sun, added Russell with a grin. As Tina pulled the Camp Crescent flag down, she spotted what Meg had told her to look for, a small piece of paper attached to one of the clips that held the flag. Before anyone noticed, she quickly slipped it off and shoved it in her back pocket. When both flags were folded, the 4 campers solemnly carried them back to the lodge, with the rest of the campers following to find their seats for dinner. Meg, Russell, and Tina ended up at separate dining tables, so they had to wait all through dinner, announcements, and songs to find out what the latest clue was. They finally met again out on the lodge porch. Tina pulled out the clue from her pocket and opened it. They all read in silence. Last clue. Take clues of flora, fauna, fin, and feather. Find the prize when put together. What does that mean? Tina wondered. This is the hardest clue yet, and it's almost dark. Flora, fauna, fin, and feather, read Russell. What are they? Meg chewed on the end of her pencil and studied her notebook. What do you think the last clue means? Look, Meg pointed at each of the clues. On every clue there are 3 letters underlined. I bet that's what we're supposed to put together. They all studied the underlined words. A cat with an arrow at a sunset. Russell said a few minutes later, Ridiculous, we'd never find that. Wait, said Meg, maybe the letters fit in these spaces at the bottom of the last clue. They would make a 7-letter word and then a 5-letter word. She got out 3 pencils from her notebook and ripped out 3 pieces of paper. Quick, let's try to figure this out, how the words fit in here. They all scribbled furiously. Do-do-do-do, the bugle called for the meeting down at the campfire. More camp songs when they have a mystery to solve. Meg kept scribbling in her notebook. Suddenly she sat up straight. I think I know where the prize is hidden. Stuart's canoe. Look, she pointed at her paper. See what it spells when you unjumble the letters? Stuart, he's the ghost, exclaimed Russell. But the canoe is in the haunted old shack, Tina protested. We can't go in there. Come on, insisted Meg. We have to find out. Meg, Russell, and Tina headed directly for the haunted shack. By the time they arrived, it was almost already dark. A full moon lit the lake and the beach, and it was very quiet except for the waves gently lapping at the shore. Meg clicked on her flashlight as they slowly pushed open the door. Meg scanned the shack with her flashlight. The canoes stacked on the wall were all too new to be Stuart's, but there was an old one sitting in the rafters. Perfect, thought Meg. They pulled a small stepladder over, and Meg climbed carefully up. Russell and Tina tried to hold the ladder steady, but it still wobbled. Meg slowly swept her flashlight over the inside of the canoe until her light shone down upon a brown paper envelope. She reached in and grabbed it, when suddenly a loud, fluttering, and terrifying screech filled the rafters. "Ghost!" screamed Tina and Russell, letting go of the ladder and flying out the door. Meg half tumbled, half slipped down the ladder and raced out after them. What do you think made that noise? I think I see something right here. "Wait," Meg called out to Tina and Russell. They stopped running and looked back at her. She was clutching a brown envelope in one hand and was in fits of laughter. "It's not funny," Russell looked angry as Meg caught up with them. "This place is haunted." "It's not," Meg tried to stop laughing. "I'm sorry, but we all look so funny. It's only a bunch of owls up there. A nest of baby owls." "Baby owls?" Tina echoed in disbelief. "Yep, up in the rafters. That's who's haunting the canoe shack. And look, I've got the prize." She held up the envelope. "I wonder what it is." They all stared with curiosity at the envelope. "Let's open it with everybody else," suggested Russell. Meg and Tina quickly agreed, and the three friends set off for the campfire. "We found the prize," declared Meg as they walked up to the circle of campers gathered around the fire. "What? How could you?" "But you burned the clue. How could you solve it?" Everybody asked questions all at once. "I thought you three were sick all day." Tim looked puzzled. "They were," said Miss Kane. "I'm sorry I ruined the clue." Meg apologized to everyone. She proudly handed Tim the envelope. "Here's the prize." No one said a word as Tim opened the envelope and pulled out the prize. "Tickets to the state fair," he shouted, and held it up for everybody to see. "And the 4th of July fireworks start in 1 hour. We'd better hurry. How about a round of applause for our 3 detectives?" "Yeah, okay, everybody," announced Tim. "Grab your Camp Crescent sweatshirts and get on the bus. You too, Miss Kane. Let's go." On the bus, everybody crowded Meg, Russell, and Tina to hear how they figured out the treasure hunt. When they had finished explaining the clues, the whole busload began singing the new camp song. "What camp do we love the most? Camp Creepy, Camp Creepy. Swimming, hiking, and a ghost. Camp Creepy, Camp Creepy." "I bet we'll be the only camp in the state with a real ghost," someone in the back shouted. "Meg," whispered Russell, "we forgot to tell them about the baby owls." "Nah, that'll be our secret." All right. July 15th. Dear Mom and Dad, sorry I've been too busy to write. I have a lot of friends here, and we do a lot of neat things. We even solved a mystery and found tickets to the state fair to see a giant firework display. It was great. We're all going to write each other and come back next summer and give Skip a big hug. Hi, Peter. Gotta fly. Bye, Meg. And that is the end of Meg Mackintosh and the mystery at Camp Creepy.